Chapter 14.3.5 Conflict and Peacemaking. How do social traps and mirror image perceptions fuel social conflict? We live in surprising times. With astonishing speed, late 20th century democratic movements swept away totalitarian rule in Eastern European countries, and hopes for a new world order displaced the Cold War chill. And yet, the 21st century began with terrorist acts and war, and the world continued to spend $2 billion every day for arms and armies, money that could have been used for housing, nutrition, education, and health care. Knowing that wars begin in human minds, psychologists have wondered, what in the human mind causes destructive conflict? How might the perceived threats of social diversity be replaced by a spirit of cooperation? To a social psychologist, a conflict is a perceived incompatibility of actions, goals, or ideas. The elements of conflict are much the same at all levels, from nations at war to cultural disputes within a society to individuals in a marital dispute. In each situation, people become enmeshed in a potentially destructive social process that can produce results no one wants. Among the destructive processes are social traps and distorted perceptions. Social traps. In some situations, we support our collective well-being by pursuing our personal interests. As capitalist Adam Smith wrote in The Wealth of Nations, 1776, "It is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own interest." In other situations, we harm our collective well-being by pursuing our personal interests. Such situations are social traps. Consider the simple game matrix in Figure 14.17, which is similar to those used in experiments with countless thousands of people. Both sides can win, or both can lose, depending on the player's individual choices. Pretend you are person A, and that you and person 2 will each receive the amount shown after you separately choose either A or B. You might invite someone to look at the matrix with you and take the role of person 2. Which do you choose, A or B? You and person 2 are caught in a dilemma. If you both choose A, you both benefit, making $5 each. Neither of you benefits if you both choose B, for neither of you makes anything. Nevertheless, on any single trial, you serve your own interest if you choose B. You can't lose, and you might make $10. But the same is true for the other person, hence the social trap. As long as you both pursue your own immediate best interest and choose B, you will both end up with nothing, the typical result, when you could have made $5. Many real-life situations similarly pit our individual interests against our communal well-being. Individual whalers reasoned that the few whales they took would not threaten the species, and that if they didn't take them, others would anyway. The result? Some species of whales became endangered. Ditto for the bison hunters of yesterday and the elephant tusk poachers of today. Individual car owners and homeowners reason, it would cost me comfort or money to buy a more fuel-efficient car and furnace. Besides, the fossil fuels I burn don't noticeably add to the greenhouse gases. When enough others reason similarly, the collective result threatens disaster, global climate change, rising seas, and more extreme weather. Social traps challenge us to find ways of reconciling our right to pursue our personal well-being with our responsibility for the well-being of all. Psychologists are therefore exploring ways to convince people to cooperate for their mutual betterment, through agreed-upon regulations, through better communication, and through promoting awareness of our responsibilities toward community, nation, and the whole of humanity. Dawes, 1980, Linder, 1982, Sato, 1987. Given effective regulations, communication, and awareness, people more often cooperate, whether it be in playing a laboratory game or the real game of life. Enemy perceptions. Psychologists have noted that those in conflict have a curious tendency to form diabolical images of one another. These distorted images are ironically similar, so similar in fact that we call them mirror image perceptions. As we see them as untrustworthy and evil-intentioned, so they see us. Each demonizes the other. Mirror image perceptions often feed a vicious cycle of hostility. If Juan believes Maria is annoyed with him, he may snub her, causing her to act in ways that justify his perception. As with individuals, so with countries. Perceptions can become self-fulfilling prophecies. They may confirm themselves by influencing the other country to react in ways that seem to justify them. People in conflict also tend to see their own actions as responses to provocation, not as the causes of what happens next. When responding to a perceived provocation, they often hit back harder, though perceiving themselves as merely returning tit for tat. In one experiment, University College London volunteers used a mechanical device to press on another volunteer's finger after feeling pressure on their own finger. Although their task was to reciprocate with the same amount of pressure, they typically responded with about 40% more force than they had just experienced. Despite seeking to respond only in kind, their touches soon escalated to hard presses, much as when each child after a fight claims that, "I just poked him, but he hit me harder." Shergall et al., 2003. In the early 21st century, many Americans came to loathe Saddam Hussein. Like the evil Saddam Hussein, some of today's tyrants are gripped by an implacable hatred of the United States of America, declared then-President George W. Bush, 2001. They hate our friends, they hate our values, they hate democracy and freedom and individual liberty. Many care little for the lives of their own people. Hussein, 2002, reciprocated the perception, seeing the United States as an evil tyrant that, with Satan as its protector, lusted for oil and aggressively attacked those who defend what is right. The point is not that truth must lie midway between two such views. One may be more accurate. The point is that enemy perceptions often form mirror images. Moreover, as enemies change, so do perceptions. In American minds and media, the bloodthirsty, cruel, treacherous Japanese of World War II later became our intelligent, hardworking, self-disciplined, resourceful allies. Gallup, 1972. How can we make peace? Can contact, cooperation, communication, and conciliation transform the antagonisms fed by prejudice and conflicts into attitudes that promote peace? Research indicates that in some cases they can. Contact. How can we transform feelings of prejudice, aggression, and conflict into attitudes that promote peace? Does it help to put two conflicting parties into close contact? It depends. When such contact is non-competitive and between parties of equal status, such as retail clerks working the same shift, it typically helps. Initially, prejudiced co-workers of different races have, in such circumstances, usually come to accept one another. This finding is confirmed by a statistical digest of more than 500 studies of face-to-face contact with out-groups, such as ethnic minorities, the elderly, and those with disabilities. Among the 250,000 people studied across 38 nations, contact has been correlated with, or in experimental studies has led to, more positive attitudes. Pettigrew and Trop, 2006. Some examples. With interracial contact, South African whites and blacks' attitudes have moved into closer alignment. Dixon et al., 2007. Heterosexuals' personal contact with gay people correlates with accepting attitudes. In one national survey, those who knowingly had a gay family member or close friend were twice as likely to support gay marriage as those who didn't, 55% versus 25%. Niedorf and Morin, 2007. Even indirect contact with a member of an outgroup via story reading or through a friend who has an outgroup friend tends to reduce prejudice. Cameron and Rutland, 2006. Pettigrew et al., 2007. You cannot shake hands with a clenched fist, said Indira Gandhi in 1971. However, mere contact is not always enough. In most desegregated schools, ethnic groups resegregate themselves in the lunchroom and on the school grounds. Clack et al., 2005, Schofield, 1986. People in each group often think that they would welcome more contact with the other group, but they assume the other group does not reciprocate the wish. Richardson and Shelton, 2007. I don't reach out to them because I don't want to be rebuffed. They don't reach out to me because they're just not interested. When such mirror image misperceptions are corrected, friendships may then form and prejudices melt.